reactions. In our body, there are millions of reactions that are happening every moment. So each reactions are considered as part of metabolic process. Metabolic process is a process where we see a breaking kind of reactions and forming kind of reactions. All the breaking kind of reactions are called as catabolic reactions, whereas all the forming type of reactions are called as anabolic reactions. Both anabolic and catabolic reaction forms metabolic reactions. All the metabolic reactions together can be called as metabolic process, which also can be called as life process. So in our body there are hundreds of life process happening at the same time. So some of the life process that are happening in our body are we are going to study in this chapter, life process. So the first and the foremost important life process is nutrition, vital life process. Nutrition. What is nutrition? Nutrition is a process of intake of nutrients into our body. So the process of intake of nutrients into our body is called as nutrition. The nutrients includes proteins, carbohydrate, minerals, fats, amino acid, vitamins, etc. The one which we are taking in the food. So nutrition includes two types of nutrition. One is called as autotrophic nutrition and another is called as heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutritions are those of nutrition in which green plants prepare their food by themselves. So here autotrophic nutrition can be further divided into two types. One is chemoautotropic nutrition and another is photoautotropic nutrition. In chemoautotropic nutrition, we can find that the chemicals are being used for preparing food without utilizing sunlight. So they are not present in the sunlight. They might be present underground or maybe outer spaces where the autotrophic nutrition happens without sunlight. So here the organisms can use other than the water and the sunlight for preparing food. For example, hydrogen sulfur bacteria which utilize the H2S hydrogen. They don't use water and sunlight. Instead, they go for preparing food by using H2S and carbon dioxide to produce carbohydrate or starch. So we have good example, that is hydrogen sulfur bacteria. Similarly, when we talk about autotrophic nutrition, that is photoautotropic nutrition, we say that preparing food in presence of sunlight. So green color plants are the responsible for photosynthesis. So photoautotropic nutrition includes all the green plants who undergo photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process which happens in all the green plants. Photosynthesis is a vital process in green plants where they prepare food, that is starch, by using sunlight and carbon dioxide, water and minerals. But to be clear, we need to go with a definition, a proper definition of photosynthesis. When we say photosynthesis, it is a biological phenomenon that happens in the green plants where the green plants utilize carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water and mineral from the soil in presence of sunlight with the help of green colored pigment called chlorophyll to prepare starch or carbohydrate. So this process is known as photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is a vital process in green plants. So photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast. We know chloroplast, it is a bimembrane structure with a membrane coil-like structure present inside the chloroplast. They are called thylakoids. Inside the thylakoids area is called as grana, whereas the outside thylakoid area is called as stroma. So when we divide the photosynthesis into different steps, we can divide the photosynthesis into two steps. First step is called as light phase, whereas second step is known as dark phase. When we say light phase occurs in presence of sunlight, whereas dark phase occurs in the presence of the product produced by light phase, that is ATP and NADPH2. So light phase happens in the grana of the thylakoid membrane, whereas when we talk about dark phase, it happens in the stroma of the chloroplast. So we can divide the chloroplast into two regions, one inside the thylakoid called as grana and another outside the thylakoid called as stroma. So in the stroma, dark phase or the final phase of photosynthesis happens, whereas in the grana, the first phase, that is light phase, happens. So during dark phase, it's not compulsory that it should be dark or it should be light. Instead, it should have the products of light phase to happen. So these are the two major steps of photosynthesis. Further, if we divide the photosynthesis into further steps, then we can divide into light phase into three more steps. The first step we can be considered as trapping of sunlight by green colored pigment called chlorophyll, or absorption of sunlight by the green colored pigment called chlorophyll, whereas second step is known as hydrolysis of water or photolysis of water. So hydrolysis or photolysis of water happens due to sunlight. UV radiation breaks the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen is released in the atmosphere, whereas hydrogen is further broken down into 2 electrons and 2 protons, which will be further used in the process of photosynthesis for synthesizing of ATP and NADPH2. The third step of the light phase is conversion of light energy to chemical energy. By utilizing the protons and electrons, the light energy is converted into ATP and NADPH2. So these are the energized molecules that will be used in dark phase. So the second step of the photosynthesis is dark phase, which happens in the stroma of the chloroplast. So during dark phase, only single step, we can say reduction of carbon dioxide into carbohydrate by utilizing the energy, that is ATP and NADPH2 products of light phase, is known as dark phase. So during dark phase, what happens? The products of light phase, that is ATP and NADPH2, are used to produce starch. That's why we can say reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. So these are the steps of photosynthesis. So in order to study more detail, we must know the different activities related to the products of photosynthesis. So during photosynthesis, we know that carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide and oxygen has to be exchanged. But we know that plants do not have mouth or nose. So there are minute pores on the surface of the leaves of the plants. So these pores are called as stomata. These stomata helps in the exchange of gases. That is, during photosynthesis, they take in the carbon dioxide and throw out the oxygen, whereas during respiration, they take in the oxygen and throw out the carbon dioxide. During transpiration, they help in evaporation of the water from the stomata. Hence, stomata are very vital part of the leaves. So there are thousands of stomata on the surface of the leaves, whereas when we talk about the surface of the leaf, the upper surface of the leaf contains less stomata, whereas lower surface of the leaf contains more stomata. The reason is, the upper surface of the leaf, if there are more stomata, then the sunlight might evaporate most of the water and the plant might wilt or die. So in order to prevent that, the stomata are present at the lower surface, not on the upper surface of the leaf.